In the case of the average person who did not do heavy work, the amount of carbohydrates, rice, and bread you need a day is about 300 to 400 grams. But even though I didn't move my body a lot, if you eat more carbohydrates and have a lot of sweets, it can be seen as a carbohydrate poisoning phenomenon. Carbohydrate addiction is caused by alcohol or drug addiction. It's not much different if you're consuming carbohydrates or simple sugars, like when you're drinking or taking drugs. An instantaneous product called dopamine is produced, called the indulgence hormone. It gives you a pleasant feeling. If this happens over and over again, instinctively, to feel pleasant, you're in a state of dependence on carbohydrates, which is carbs addiction. If you don't eat carbs for a while, you're annoyed because you run out of dopamine. If you feel depressed and eat carbs, you feel happy or better. Gradually, they become slaves of carbohydrates that depend heavily on them. What is going on in this carbs-addicted body? Most of the carbohydrates we eat in monosaccharides raise blood sugar levels rapidly. At this time, our body wants to reduce the high blood sugar levels that destroy red blood cells and tissues normally. The pancreas produces a lot of insulin and sends it out in a hurry, resulting in a sharp drop in blood sugar. Go into a state of low blood sugar and restlessness. At this point, you instinctively find carbohydrates and eat them in a hurry, and then the same situation happens from the beginning. As it repeats again, the vicious cycle begins. As this vicious cycle begins, there are two consequences. First, insulin resistance occurs. Insulin resistance is when enough insulin is produced. Cells' refusal to accept blood sugar increases blood sugar levels. In this state, our body turns it into fat and builds it up in the body to solve the high blood sugar problem. This is the beginning of obesity. Second, child. If these things continue in the long run, the pancreas will have to continue to produce insulin in large quantities. It's too much, and it can lead to diabetes. Carbohydrate addiction is not a problem to be overlooked. First, if you look at some of the symptoms of carbohydrate addiction, 1. Habitually eat something at night. 2. I eat breakfast, but after a while I am hungry. 3. There's no specific reason, but I'm constantly annoyed. I have a persistent food coma after 4 meals. 5. When I'm under a lot of stress, I crave sweets, mixed coffee, chocolate, and I eat candy. After 6 meals, you have sweet dessert. I eat it often because it reminds me of 7 flour foods, noodles, bread, etc. Is there anything that can help you overcome these symptoms? Let's find out some helpful supplements. First, magnesium. Magnesium is the 4th most abundant mineral in our body. It is essential for more than 300 enzyme reactions, from protein combination to nerve formation. In particular, when it becomes insufficient as a very important mineral, which is indispensable for insulin metabolism, in the history of the day, a fatal problem arises. Therefore, when magnesium is scarce, the symptoms of carbohydrate pulling become very severe. Therefore, the first thing that must be done to solve the problem of carbohydrate addiction, it's a measure to keep your body from running out of magnesium. Second, it's chromium. Like magnesium, it's like insulin. Mineral is indispensable in the history of the day. According to many studies, chromium supplementation is a great help in solving the problem of carbohydrate addiction and obesity. To be able to tell. The third is the amino acid glutamine. Glutamine is one of the 2 fuels used in the brain. The other, of course, is glucose. If the brain runs out of glutamine, it has to rely solely on glucose. Carbohydrates are easily pulled. The biggest reason why glutamine is very helpful is that if you take it in a very short time, because it reaches the brain and is used as fuel, it can completely prevent glucose from being pulled. If you take 1 or 2 1-gram glutamine capsules when you have strong carbs, you can feel the immediate pull disappear. Don't take carbs addiction lightly and solve the obesity problem. I hope there will be no health effects.